taught me how to ride my bike.
He's the coach
for my baseball team.
They help me with my math homework. He holds my hand while we watch scary movies. Because the things he does helps all of us. Be alert. Our parents are at work.
The first day I got here, my supervisor had actually gotten struck by another vehicle, and they were trying to get the vehicles off the freeway and find the person who had hit him. I had no idea what I was getting into. I thought we were just a construction crew that you see on the side of the freeway. I had no idea that I'd be interacting with the actual public and the motoring public and putting myself in danger on the side of the freeway while trying to do repairs. It was like a whirlwind. I didn't expect to be out in the freeway and exposed to live traffic, but at the same time I was trying to do my job. At the time we were trying to fill a sinkhole in the center median. Well, when you see a crew out there, you have to be mindful that they're trying to do their job, so they're not fully aware of what's going on around them. So if they can help and slow down, possibly make sure give those workers plenty of room as they're going by, and give them that courtesy, that would make those guys feel a lot better, because you're doing a job that entails focus, and you're at the same time you're trying to be as safe as possible and stay out of danger, which is pretty much impossible because you're always at danger whether or not everyone's trying to be safe. March 6th, 2015, we were involved in a sweeping train in the center median, southbound 2, and I was struck. While I was sitting in the truck, my truck was struck by a motorist traveling over 100 miles an hour, and the energy traveled through the truck and through me. Fully aware, when it happened, the first thing I could do was rely on my training and my experience, and I tried to get out of my vehicle and make sure they were safe because I noticed they were injured. I offered my assistance, not realizing that I was injured. My adrenaline was pumping. I noticed immediately after she struck me that she got out and she was injured. She was bleeding. I noticed that she had gone around to the passenger door and she was screaming for someone inside the vehicle. So immediately I knew someone else was in that vehicle. As I passed by, I realized they were pulling a child out of the car who was injured and bleeding. And after I put out a few flares, I did what I was taught to do and to offer my assistance, being trained in first aid. And it was just something that I didn't even think of. It was second nature. We've been trained continuously on how to best serve the public and keep them safe. And so I was just doing my job before I realized that I was hurt. I ended up on disability for a little over a year. I had 2 surgeries on my knee. I ended up with some back problems, that still exist. I lost 60% of the ability in my left arm, and yeah, that was a really bad situation. Luckily, the person lived, but she was very well injured, and so was her 9-year-old daughter. Our job is to provide a safe transportation system for you guys, and it's not just for the public; it's for us too. And we do whatever we can out there, and our lives are on the line. We want to go home to our families. We want to go home in one piece. And with the injuries that I've occurred from this last incident, it's been really hard. It's been really hard on me. I can't play with my kids the way I used to. I can't go on the family outings with them all the time because I can't keep up. So it's really taken a lot away from my family life. Unfortunately, it's just something that I have to deal with now.
It just seems like the public doesn't fully understand the issues that we have We have some of the most heavily traveled freeways in the world. And we go to great efforts to try and minimize when we work, to minimize the impact on the public. But we also have the ports, so you not only have a lot of traffic, but you have heavy vehicles. And these don't, just because there's a lot of cars doesn't mean that we can be on the road less. These are actually degrading the highways faster. And so the repair work we need to do is more important. And we live in an area where people are busy. This is an area that everybody's here. We know the traffic's bad. People are very busy. And so they become impatient. And they don't stop to realize how difficult the job is or how important the job is. And the whole reason for doing it is never to just impact people's travel. We do all we can to minimize that. But in the end, these repairs have to be made. A big pothole can blow out a tire and cause an accident. And that can lead to greater delays. And we do have accidents and issues that happen just from errant drivers, but we try and do everything we can to minimize impact, but keep the roads safe. And unfortunately, when these things, like maintenance projects, have to be done, they do have an impact on traffic because there's just no time that we can work that doesn't have an impact on traffic 24 hours a day. And we're in a tricky predicament with the work we do because to make the major part of the commuters happy, well, then we're going to have a negative impact on the residents that live next to the freeway. So no matter when we do the work, it has an impact on somebody, and nobody likes it. So we always are going to have someone that is unhappy with the way we're doing things. And I think that's something that the public doesn't understand a lot, is that when we have to do work on the freeways, and the jokes about how many people you see standing around, but you see, we have a requirement to block lanes, to have shadow trucks, barrier trucks. So we might have a lot of individuals required to put in a lane closure for a job that takes 1 or 2 people to do. So it's not that these people are out there wasting time, but to follow our construction safety orders in Chapter 8, these are requirements. And so we have to have all these vehicles and cones and signs, guys blocking the ramps. All that goes into just getting us to have a somewhat safe work zone so that whatever the task is can be performed. And so that's, I think, another thing that falls on the public, that they don't fully understand, that there's a lot that goes into just getting access to where we have to do the job at hand. And there is no opportune time to do it. If 3 o'clock in the morning isn't a good time to do it, if that's not when traffic's the most minimal, that we still have to put up with that. And I've been fortunate. I haven't been injured. I haven't been hit by any of these items thrown, and I have pretty thick skin, so I don't get hurt by people calling me names. But at the same time, what's the point? What's the purpose? We're just trying to get something done. We're trying to do as fast as we can and get out of your way so we don't have to be there anymore.
My first day with Caltrans, I kind of hadn't ingested totally what I had signed up for. My supervisor sent me out with another employee, and we went out on the shoulder, and I was like, wow, because all the cars were passing by so fast, and the wind and everything. I just never had been out there like that before. I actually was a little scared, to be honest, because they were working on the freeway and it's inherently dangerous. When I made operator, we were out doing a sweeping operation, which is a moving closure. We were coming up the ramp. It was a 2-lane ramp. As I was coming up, obviously traffic is backing up. Some of the drivers just, they didn't want to wait. A lot of people were getting over to the right early on because we're on the hill. They could see us from far back. But I guess this guy just didn't see, and he just got impatient and he wanted to just go. So he jumped out of the right lane and jumped over to the left lane where we were, and he raced up, and all of a sudden, and I saw this guy coming, and so I let off the brake a little bit to ease the impact. He hit my box, crashed into my box. He survived, and he was trembling, and we kept, are you okay? He was like, okay, I'm okay. He just wanted to get out of there. I think what I would say to him is have patience in LA, because the traffic situation is very bad for a lot of people, but we in Caltrans, we're steadily trying to improve that situation. It's just not easy. There's a lot of factors involved, but we want you to know that everything that we do out there is for you to get home, for you to get to work, for you to get home, to be with your family. And I want him to know that My job is to make sure that the road is safe for him to get home to his family every day. I want him to know that.
I actually felt important. It felt, had a feeling to where I had a position that actually meant something with a company which was a state that had a strong presence. I had an idea of what I was getting myself into, that's for sure. We trimmed a lot of trees, and it's peaceful up there, it's quiet. Until the rats and all of a sudden start coming out. You gotta be really careful to not get a ring of froms fall on you and you suffocate or something inside of it.
Wow.
I was rear-ended by 18-wheeler. I was in the truck by myself. We were en route. We were caravanning to our next location. And traffic queued on the 57 freeway. And the truck driver did not notice the traffic. He did not. I watched him. I never actually came to a stop. He hit me before I even came to a stop. So I slammed into my coworker, who was in a 1-ton pickup truck in front of me. The back of his head shattered out the back windshield. And then after I hit him, the truck hit again as a second impact. I have multiple bulge and herniated discs in my neck and lower back. I had to undergo 2 surgeries in my lower back, from a microdiscectomy and then a spinal fusion. Yeah, there were other close calls. We were in the center median, the center to turn into the fuel station, and I guess there was a motorist. She was impatient, and she went around my vehicle on opposing traffic side. She ran into the steering axle of my truck and the tires, which wrapped my shoulders around. And she separated both of my shoulders. She said she was around the corner from her job, trying not to be late. I felt she treated me as an obstacle instead of a person. Please try to see us as people trying to do our jobs.
You know what? I do remember my first day being in the field. I was really excited about being with Caltrans. I thought it was a good organization. I didn't know a lot about Caltrans. I just seen the trucks out there, but I was really excited about being out there. At that time, I thought, you know, I have the vest, I have the hard hat, we had cones. The people respect us out here. I thought they were happy that we were out here, so I was happy to be out there to be of service. So I was, like I said, I was ecstatic. Yes, when they started giving me the "you're number one" sign, you know, half a peace sign, when they started throwing things at us, when they started saying a few words that, you know, pulling up behind us in different operations, trying to cutting through our closures, you know. I would like to tell them, we're not here to screw your day up. We're here to make sure that you get home to your family like we want to get home to our family. We're out there to make sure that the roads are safe and drivable. You know, if we're not out there, there's a chance of you, if something does happen out there, that you might not make it home to your family. If the guardrail is not fixed correctly, if the potholes is not fixed, the protection that's out there that's built in for you, it's not out there, then if something happened to where you run into it, you can be killed or seriously injured and not make it home that day. Lost a tire, big rig lost his tire. Yeah, I was protecting a spray rig operation, and actually the tire, it went airborne because the box was down. It did not hit the box, it did not hit the back of the truck. It actually went over the 2-ton truck and into the back, and when it landed right behind my head, and it actually busted out the back window, moved the cab about 7 to 8 inches where the seat was actually sticking out the back of the truck. Well, a lot of times we say out there when they see the orange and they come straight for us. So I don't know if they're inattentive. It seems like they direct their vehicle straight toward us. You know, they see the cones and they think, you know what, hey, that's the way to go. Because of our employees being struck out there on the side of the freeway, people being inattentive, you know, in a rush trying to get to where they wanted to go to, and not paying us any attention. You know, they had one goal in mind, and that was to get to their destination. The things that we have to contend with out there, you know, they're just driving along, you know. Most of them have never actually stopped on the side of the freeway, but I have talked to people who have actually had a blowout or ran out of gas, or their vehicle has stopped on the freeway, and they've said, you know what, it's really nerve-wracking just to be out there. Shutting down the freeway with the swarm and stuff like that, we get a chance to do quite a bit of work out there without, you know, worried about being hit out there on the freeway or our life being endangered by the motoring public. Because most people don't realize, you know, that we have so many people out there that's driving, distracted driving. They're doing so many things. They didn't turn their office and their car into an office. They're under drugs, and not only illegal drugs, but a lot of people under prescription. You know, you have people using alcohol. You know, they're combing, they're texting, they're on the telephone. So, and then a lot of times they're not paying attention. You know, and a lot of times we're the ones who pay the price for that.
Well, you know, working in Caltrans was a brand new thing because it had such variety of things to do compared to a regular electrician, which I was, working on commercial, industrial. But working on the highways was a whole new welcome experience because of the vast difference of things to work on. So it was pretty exciting. It was an experience I was looking forward to, because now you have both perspectives. One is driving in a public, you know, on the freeway, and then also working on the freeway. So now you have a respect for those that are working on the freeway, and you're much more aware of those that are out there and try to take much more caution and be aware to avoid any type of problems out there. And my job was to, you know, secure things, and I would travel and do certain call outs, you know, whether a light is out, a pole is knocked down. It happened to be one Wednesday night that I got a call out. It says it was a knockdown pole at the 710 and 91 interchange. So I get out of my truck, I park my truck, put down the cones and everything, the flashing strobe lights and, you know, rotators was on, and I simply got out of my truck and began to clear the pole out of the roadway. And so I was out there alone, yes, all alone, you know, did all of the things that I needed to do, and then I proceeded to walk towards the knockdown streetlight pole. And as you can imagine, I walked about 30 feet away from the truck and was ready to move the pole, and all of a sudden, there was a loud crash. A 72 Cadillac Brougham, as I could remember, ran into the truck, and all I could hear was a big bang. It pushed it absolutely 30 feet, and it was right against me. And all I can remember was flying backwards on the shoulder and winding on the ground. But the amazing thing about it, I guess God sent an angel, because realistically, I should not be able to move. All I remember was flying backwards. The truck would have hit me, you know, I don't know if it was the inertia, whatever pressure, I was flying backwards. So I was on the ground, and the next thing I realized is that I didn't feel myself. I felt invisible, if I could term it like that, and I could see everything as in a vapor. And it seemed like, was I still here? And I'm, thank God, one of the fortunate ones that can tell my story to those maybe that have lost loved ones. But I was able to get up, and I was, you know, like in a daze, in a haze. And all of a sudden, I was trying to figure out where I was. And the next thing I knew, I felt warm blood coming down this eyebrow. I said, oh, thank God, I'm still here. So I moved the truck. I ran to rescue the guy who hit me, who hit the truck on the other connector, saved his life because it was a very dark interchange at that time, and was able to get CHP out there and everyone, the rescue crew, fire department and ambulance, and was able to save his life. And the guy that hit me, by the way, come to find out, he was on drugs and drinking at the time. So those are things that will definitely impair your judgment out there. And someone that came by and told me, says, yeah, the guy was in the #1 lane and he zoomed all the way over to the shoulder and hit your car, hit the truck. And as they say, you know, those things, the strobe lights sometimes attract people that are impaired with their either drugs or alcohol. And it was certainly the situation that occurred there.
I didn't know what Caltrans was. I just assumed, you know, you had the court referrals on the side of the road and that's what they did. Yeah. I didn't see too much of Caltrans, you know, aside from, you know, on my regular, you know, driving in my personal vehicle. So, but even then I didn't know that's what Caltrans was, or, you know, find out, you know, what they did, you know, that they were the ones responsible for what happened on the Grapevine, you know, that they, you know, I never knew about the I-80 and that there was snow and that, you know, there was a major thoroughfare and how they used to do stuff like that. And then, you know, just, I didn't know they actually dealt with accidents like spills. I always thought that was just, you know, a contractor that came out and took care of that. My last year out in the field, I was in charge of the 5 through Valencia all the way up to the Grapevine, and every accident was a catastrophe. When I was working out in Ventura County as a supervisor, we would routinely get a lot of head-ons because the section of road I took care of was 2-lane highway. And you know, you come out and you're there for the scene, closing everything down and waiting for the fire department to get there. And you know that somebody's loved one isn't coming home, and in some instances, you know, not until the investigation's done with, you really don't know what happened. It was a child that got thrown out of a car. And that was, I still remember the location and everything, you know, it was pretty bad. We did a full freeway closure, got out there, and you know, there was more than one fatality there. And one of them was a child, car seat, you know, got ejected, and I'm assuming that, you know, maybe the seat wasn't put in correctly. You know, I don't know. But yeah, it hit pretty close to home because at the time I had young kids at home still. So just be aware. I mean, you know, we're out there, you know, there's you know, guys with families out there that are just trying to do their 8-hour job and go home. You know, a lot of times, you know, they may inconvenience you, but you don't know what the reason is for the inconvenience. You know, it could be a fatality, and that's why they're closing it. You know, the lane, the ramp, the whole thing, because you don't know what's up ahead.
I was, you know, a landscape maintenance worker, did, you know, chainsawing, you know, digging, hoeing, you know, the normal run-of-the-mill stuff, spraying chemicals, just the stuff you do as a landscape worker. And I was doing irrigation duty that day. Me and a co-worker had gone out together in what we called our plumbing truck. I had bent down to turn on a water valve, you know, facing traffic, Chapter 8, you know, rules. It's my understanding that my coworker was watching my back, and in just a split second, I was run down by a speeding truck. It was so quick. You know, it's just like lightning had struck. It was a beautiful, gorgeous dry, January day. And it's like 10 o'clock in the morning, just one of those sparkly days. And then all of a sudden, boom, you're on the ground, and what happened? Because I never saw the vehicle. Not till I saw pictures way later, months later. And I guess truck frame with a car body with one of these big, thick chrome bumpers. I'd bent the damn bumper. I was knocked out of my boots, literally, thrown maybe 20 feet. And I just remember lying there, and I'm not sure how long I was there. My sense of time is really screwed up. It seemed like a long time at one point, but in just a split second, I was run down by a speeding truck. And I was knocked out of my boots, literally. They did cut my chest open, sewed up a couple of organs, and I think I had a transfusion at that time because I had lost a lot of blood in my chest. And then they waited a few days to see if I was going to live. I was in the hospital for about 6 weeks. They were going to offer me, permanent disability. And I told them at that point that, if I can't work, I'll go crazy. So they allowed me to work, but just not back out in the field. I enjoyed my work. I was probably in the best shape of my life. I'd been on that job for probably about 4 years. And over the years, you get into shape and you get used to working out in the sun. You get used to working with your crew, and I enjoyed it. I didn't like the danger part. We joked about dodging cars. What do you do for work? Oh, I dodge cars. But back when I was in the field, that was a common expression in maintenance. Like, yeah. Everybody agreed that, it's a dangerous job. And still, here we are 20 years later. I don't understand how it is that the workers that, have exposure to the highway don't get hazard pay.